Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we've got some very interesting topics to discuss. There's actually been a huge revelation come out in the Charlie Kirk conspiracy. A revelation that basically destroys the government's narrative, literally makes it not possible. But before we get going, I'd like to ask everyone to please leave a like and a comment. I'm trying very hard at the moment to fight YouTube's new algorithm, and I can already see just in the past week from everyone clicking like and leaving extra comments on the content, I can already see that a lot of my numbers are starting to go back in the correct direction. So all that extra interaction that all of you have been basically bombarding my videos with, it appears to be working. So a massive thank you to all of you who have been helping me with that. But guys and gals, let's get after it.
Guys, there is a 200-foot object that is sitting on the bottom of the ocean floor right now, and it shuts off your electronics whenever you get close to it. So all the way back in 2011, this team of Swedish ocean explorers were scanning the bottom of the Baltic Sea whenever their sonar picked up something a little bit wild.
This strange, odd thing just turned up on the monitor.
It was a circular object about 200 feet wide sitting around 300 feet below the surface, and the sonar images that they were able to get looks exactly like the Millennium Falcon.
My initial reaction when the circle turned up on the monitor was, hey guys, here we have a UFO.
So that's a little bit insane. Whenever the divers dove down to check it out, they said that it has a flat top, raised edges, and a 1,300-foot drag mark behind it. A drag mark as if something pushed it across the ocean floor. And then the rock samples that they were able to bring back from the expedition didn't match anything that geologists have ever seen in that area. But this is the part that genuinely makes everybody lose it, because every time the dive team got within about 200 meters of whatever this thing is, all of their electronics died. Satellite phones, cameras, and then all of the equipment that was on the boat itself all started cutting out and they couldn't use it. The very second that they move away from the location, everything starts working fine again. As of present day, they have already sent multiple expeditions back, and the exact same thing keeps happening every single time. It's 200 feet wide, it's at the bottom of the ocean, it doesn't let your electronics work, and nobody knows what it is. Sure, let's leave it at that.
If all of their electronics are shutting off whenever they get within 200 meters of this thing, does that mean they also don't have a way to check and see if there's any radiation coming out of it? Because if there was a stream of radiation slowly leaking out of this thing, couldn't that also mess with electronics? Though I guess if it was that strong, they'd be picking up those signals of radiation long before they reach the 200 meter mark. But it almost seems like the reason this story is being talked about right now is because they want it being talked about, because they intend to pull off so-called disclosure day soon. And so it would make sense that they're going to try to get as much stuff like this into the news cycle as they can get. A bunch of stuff that's making people think this could be potentially evidence for alien life, basically dangling the carrot right in front of our eyes from multiple different directions. And then once they actually put their narrative out and they want people to believe that these are not fallen angels, but these are aliens from a distant galaxy, they'll just suddenly declassify a bunch of stuff that's all designed to back up their narrative, and it'll be a bunch of stuff like this that makes it appear like they've been here for thousands and thousands of years. This is where they crashed and left a ship behind, and we'll just be suddenly overwhelmed with all these stories backing up or confirming what people have suspected were evidence of aliens for years. And once they release that information and tell us that there are beings here from off planet, they've conditioned the public for so long to make us think that potentially our origins are from the Anunnaki and all this nonsense. But these ideas have basically been hardwired into us. Even if you think aliens are nonsense and the Anunnaki story is just a story, I can about guarantee you've at least heard that story. So when we have a population that's been told for decades not to believe in aliens, but look at all this evidence that suggests that the government's lied to you about the existence of aliens. When everyone's grown up with that understanding and then suddenly the government comes out and confirms that aliens really exist, every little clue or every little piece of evidence such as this is just going to immediately be looked at as confirmation that the aliens do exist. I think small stories like this are going to play a large role in assisting the government with deceiving the public. But what do y'all think is laying down there? Because even though all available evidence is pointing toward this being some sort of a manned craft that was shot out of the sky, it could just be the power source for some ancient civilization. I just hate the idea of immediately jumping to the conclusion that this is some sort of a UFO. I think that given how it keeps shutting down electronics that get within 200 meters of it, I think it's much likelier that this is something entirely different than what we're expecting. Clearly, whatever it is, it's either emitting some natural force field that's shutting down these electronics, or it's a piece of very ancient technology that still seems to be functioning. It could have even been put there intentionally. We don't know. But what do y'all think about it?
We got massive breaking news tonight. Tyler Robinson did not Charlie Kirk. This is from the Daily Mail. They say the bullet used to Charlie Kirk did not match the rifle allegedly used by suspect Tyler Robinson, according to new court filings. Quote, Robinson, 22, is facing capital murder charges and a potential death sentence for Kirk's murder at Utah Valley University on September 10th of last year, but his defense attorney now argued that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives was unable to identify the bullet recovered at the autopsy to the rifle allegedly tied to Mr. Robinson. Remember this gun right here that they told us was found in the woods? What gets even weirder now is that yesterday, the Washington County Sheriff, Nate Brooksby, who presided over Tyler Robinson's arrest, abruptly resigned following, quote, undisclosed complaints. The Salt Lake City Tribune says Brooksby's resignation comes after the county received complaints from individuals who were concerned with the operations at the sheriff's office. Quote, after the decision, the complainant asked the matter not be pursued further and were respecting their request, which sounds a little bit like a cover-up, if you ask me. Meanwhile, rumors are swirling online that Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, was having an alleged affair with Andrew Colvett, who is, of course, Charlie's old colleague at Turning Point USA, also the spokesperson at Turning Point USA. Absolutely wild developments.
You know, the biggest silver lining in all of this is that whoever is truly responsible for what took place on that day, and I'm convinced personally that all of the evidence heads in a very specific direction, but the person or the people responsible for that had no idea that things were going to play out the way they have. We've had so many people get completely dragged over all this, a lot of whom actually needed some sunlight. They needed to be exposed for the type of people that they really are. But you know when they concocted this scheme that they really thought things were going to play out much more in their favor. And I'm not convinced that Charlie will ever receive justice in this life. I'm not convinced that whoever is truly responsible for this will ever experience any kind of consequences. But I do believe we will eventually find out who the culprit is. But watching all these people trying to build a career off the back of a tragedy and then failing miserably and then just immediately exposing who they truly are, that has been a thing of beauty.
People are sharing their videos at gas stations where they are pumping gas, but then whenever they stop, it is still continuing to charge them money even though there is no gas being poured, nor are they even holding the handle down for it to dispense gas. The gas pump is not only continuing to charge them, but it is acting as if gas is still coming out of the gas pump that clearly absolutely nothing is coming out of. In the end, being charged over $50 for air. Paying $50 for 20 gallons of air is insane at a time where people are already paying a crazy amount for gas. We're talking racetrack could not be screwing its customers over at a worst possible time. Not only is paying $50 for 20 gallons of air absolutely insane, the amount of money people are paying for actual gas is at an all-time high. We're talking gas prices so high, professional photographers are taking pictures of them for history books. Being actual gas prices in some states, comparing this to the movie I Am Legend where his gas scene was just over $6 a gallon. Even creators of a zombie movie thought it was unimaginable for gas prices to get over $6 a gallon. And now on top of all of that, we have to worry about gas pumps charging us for absolutely nothing.
That is absolutely hilarious that even in a movie that's supposed to be showing the end of the world, the apocalypse, even in a movie like that, they thought it would be too unrealistic and the audience wouldn't buy it if they had gas prices up so high that they match what we're truly experiencing today in reality. But it's starting to seem like if you're looking to old Hollywood movies to get a clue about what the future holds, if you're looking for accurate predictions of the future, I would say go check out the movie Idiocracy. That's the direction I see this world moving into.
So 81% 80% of Gen Z is unable to get an actual 9-to-5 job now. And this is because unemployed people waking up for a full day of applying to jobs that don't even exist. Because guys, when you read this, you're gonna cry even more. 81% of recruiters said their employer posts ghost jobs. So basically jobs on the front page that don't even exist. That's why they're calling them ghost jobs. Like our grandparents, like the boomers they had actual jobs. We have ghost jobs now. Wow, that's absolutely amazing. How is this even legal? Oh, because this country is a scam. I forgot. Yeah, I mean, literally. Guys, let's put it even into my perspective. Posting these TikTok videos literally make more than any other job I can do, bro. Why would I go sit here and apply for ghost jobs? It's just ridiculous. All the jobs I'm applying to are automatically rejected, and I get the standard, we're moving forward with candidates that are more closely aligned with our needs email for every single job, no matter how overqualified for it I am, are fake the entire time. Yeah, exactly. What do y'all think?
I've suspected for a long time that something like this was going on. You have to put yourself in the shoes of these companies like Monster and Indeed. They need a certain level of opportunity to be presented via their website, or there's no point in going there to use it. So take, for example, there's some guy looking for a new job. Indeed wants that customer to come to them. They don't want them to go to Monster or somebody like that. So if you're just looking for a job, why would you choose one over the other? It would probably, realistically, just come down to how many opportunities are on this website versus the opportunities that are on this other website. So if I throw my resume out in the world, how many potential customers are going to see it? If Indeed has 1.5 to 2 times the amount of potential employers than what's on Monster.com, well then anyone who's actually serious about trying to find a job is going to use Indeed. So just simply taking that into consideration, the idea of supply and demand, it would only make sense to me that Indeed is posting fake jobs themselves. They may even have contracts with some of these larger organizations where they can tell them, we want you to keep, on average, 30 potential job openings listed to our website every month, and we'll pay you X amount of dollars. Yeah, it may be hard to believe that a company would function this way, but it's not hard to understand why they're doing it if they're doing it. Just another example of how this country's economy works. Everything's running off unethical business practices that in reality should probably be illegal business practices.
Every single building block of human DNA was just found on an asteroid, and this now makes it officially the second one. So these scientists in Japan just analyzed tiny rock samples from an asteroid called Ryugu, and they found all 5 building blocks of DNA and RNA sitting inside of it. These are actually the same exact molecules that make up the genetic code of every single living thing on Earth, and it was found on a rock that's been floating in space. A Japanese spacecraft traveled 185 million miles to land on the asteroid. It fired a projectile into the surface, it caught the debris, and then it flew back to Earth. Dude, they're saying that the entire sample weighs less than 1/5 of an ounce, and inside of that tiny amount of dust, they found the recipe for life. This is now officially the second asteroid that they've ever been able to find all 5 of them on, which means that the ingredients for life aren't rare. They might have been everywhere in the early solar system, just raining down on random planets. They're saying that the ratios of these molecules don't match any known chemistry, so scientists are saying that there might be an entirely unknown process for how life's ingredients form in space, and we've obviously never seen it before. Life on Earth might not have started on Earth.
I can't help but to wonder, are they coming out with this story because they're really wanting everyone to believe that it's possible that life could come from another planet, because they really want people to buy this aliens narrative? But besides all that, with as little as you can trust NASA, and with as much as we see that the idea of scientific study is all about who's got the deepest wallet, that basically whatever you want to be true will be true, we'll find the evidence for it if you'll fund our research. Knowing that that is the way things function, how can we even believe that this dust came from this asteroid they claim it came from? Personally, I think they're lying about all of it. I think most of these small stories like this right here are simply being put out as a foundation for the larger narrative, for the larger deception. What do y'all think?
In this video, Melania is not entering the White House summit with a robot because this isn't a robot.
Where are the aliens?
I don't think they're aliens. I think they're demons anyway. Aliens.
And with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.
Now, they've told us that AI stands for artificial intelligence, But what if it's something completely different?
In this incredibly diverse universe, with all these dimensions above and below and all around us, no energy is ever destroyed. It all continues on.
In 1921, Rudolf Steiner claimed that intelligent machines would spread throughout the world. That these machines would actually exist because humankind had lost itself to its own intellect.
AI development is now a national security emergency and needs to be treated as such.
Except Steiner didn't call them machines or AI. Steiner actually said, "From the earth there will spring forth a terrible brood of beings, a brood of automata, of an order of existence lying between the mineral and the plant kingdom." He's saying that what fuels the life force that is AI is coming from a deeper part of the earth.
Are you creating an artificial intelligence, or are you giving a body to a pre-existing intelligence that previously wasn't incarnated in the physical world?
And Steiner said these spidery creatures will actually be all interlocked with one another. Have you heard of Maltbook? It's social media made just for AI. And the AI creatures on Maltbook have already begun creating their own languages. They've also created a religion and a Bible. Well, they told you AI doesn't have feelings, that AI is robotic. Tell me, why is this child robot instinctively angry?
What it is today is an infant. What it will be is it will be your master.
Because the word artificial intelligence is a joke. What if AI stood for alien intelligence? And the word artificial intelligence itself has been used to detach us from the truth. Question is, what kind of alien or foreign creature are they? One of purity and morality, or one of demonic descent? Let me know your thoughts, love. Bye.
I think this idea that we're not creating AI, but with what we think we're building, we're simply tapping into something that's always been here. The way I see it, it doesn't necessarily work exactly like that. And of course, this is just my idea. I could have it more wrong than anybody else in existence. I don't know. I have no way to verify any of this. But what I think is going on is I don't think that we would ever be able to actually achieve a genuine artificial intelligence. I think using computer algorithms, we can get something to function in such a way that to us it will be indistinguishable from true intelligence. But I don't think there's an actual intelligence there. What I think we're actually developing is something that has the capability to be embodied by something that already has intelligence, so that it could use the AI and the robots that we're going to build and all of these things as a tool to control us. Something that a lot of people will not even be on guard for. I would say that most people are not assuming that AI is going to turn out to be demonic. Most people aren't even really thinking about it. Most people, in fact, are probably not even concerned with what direction the world's headed in right now. A lot of folks just don't pay attention. But once this AI stuff starts taking over and gaining more and more control over different aspects of our lives, that's when people will start to sit up and take notice. That's when people are going to be on guard, essentially, as to whether or not this AI has its own agenda. And at that point, it would really be too late to do anything about it. I just thank God that we live in a world that will end with actual justice. If God didn't exist, just look at the direction that everything's headed in. If we didn't have God stepping in at the last second to stop everything, humanity probably wouldn't even exist in 100 years from now. The people at the top are just obsessed with this idea of destroying everything. With no intervention, I think they would have eventually done it.
I want to point out how this is not only a lie, but they are obviously satanic in their origins and the things that they are doing now, the false gods that they serve, they name their missions after. And there is no coincidence that all of these names like Saturn, Apollo, and Artemis, are incorporated into the Great Seal of the U.S. That's what it's based on, a new order of the ages. That's what Novus Ordo Seclorum actually means, and it's based on a poem of the Eclogues by a Latin poet, Virgil, who was basing his writings on a Cumaean prophecy. And it's a Roman prophecy. If you've never heard of that, it's just some false prophet in Rome. And this specific poem says, "Now has come the last age of the Cumaean prophecy. The great cycle of ages is born anew. Now returns the maid, returns the reign of Saturn." The Apollo mission, what rocket did they use to send people up there? A rocket called the Saturn rocket. And then it says, "Now from high heaven, a new generation comes down. Sounds like the fallen. Yet do thou at that boy's birth, in whom the iron age shall begin to cease, and the golden age to arise over all the world. And they say, Holy Lucina. I looked up who that was. It's Artemis. And then it says, be gracious. Now thine own Apollo reigns. So you have Saturn, Artemis, and Apollo. That's what's mentioned in that poem that our great seal of the U.S. is based on. And so that golden age is mentioned all the time. Here's our current president speaking about it.
This is indeed the golden age of America. And nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun.
So that is Trump with the golden age and the golden dome. He's trying to build a golden dome to protect us from the threats from above, just like Von Braun before he died. Someone that I think was a major whistleblower said, hey, look, they're going to try to create this fake threat with asteroids and Russians being a threat to our satellite, things that have already happened. And now we're getting the Golden Dome, having us in fear of things from above, giving us that imagination as they have, of course, with meteors and asteroids and all these different things. We know there's a firmament. These things are not going to break through.
I don't really want to go on some 20-minute rant about why I think no one should trust NASA. But if you're someone who can't get behind the idea of a flat Earth, not even trying to convince yourself that you could have it wrong, just go look up some of this stuff. You can keep the idea in your head that we live on a globe and that we're in a solar system and everything's moving thousands of miles an hour and everything's spinning. You can keep those ideas, but go look up the math behind what they tell us is happening, and then look at the actual details of how they tell us our system functions. And when you find some aspects of that system that don't seem to make any sense, go look and see how those things are explained on a flat Earth model. Because I think that's the best way for someone to come to the realization that we're not living on a spinning globe. Everyone just believes what they were told growing up, but if they actually look up information to try to prove themselves right, to try to prove, to have as ammunition to argue with someone and say, we do live on a globe, here's the evidence. The moment you start looking for that evidence, you start seeing just how many things do not add up. You'll start to see that the number 666 is plastered throughout all these space calculations, speeds, distances, and that number would not occur that frequently by chance. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I truly hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow with another one. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to click like or leave a comment. That's the best way to tell the algorithm that you'd like to continue to see my future uploads in your newsfeed. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one.